Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. I apologize because I'm from Brazil. I don't live here, so any mispronunciation or grammar mistakes. Hopefully you are going to be able at least to understand the whole idea. Okay. We're going to talk a little bit about the Brazilian e-commerce market. Brazil in the past years was doing pretty well economically speaking. Nowadays we are not doing that well, but it's still one of the biggest e-commerce going on all around the world. You know, probably we are going to grow 20% this year, and that's what we are going to be talking about here tonight. Okay. Well, a little bit about myself. I'm a lawyer. Our law firm is based in São Paulo. We work with digital economy, so most of our clients are e-commerce, startups, and IT companies. I used to be general counsel for a huge Brazilian company, IT company. Most of our partners are also come from different companies, so most of them were in-house lawyers, which give us a lot of business skills. So we basically understand how e-commerce goes in Brazil and of course internationally, because you know, e-commerce is a kind of business that you don't have borders, so you sell everywhere. So that's the whole idea. Okay, a little bit about Brazil. Brazil now has a population of more than 205 million people down there, and we are the 6th largest economy in the world. Okay, we are pretty big. I don't know if you know, guys, but São Paulo is the biggest city in Brazil. It's not Rio, right? And I know you are from Rio. I'm just telling you guys that São Paulo is bigger when it comes to the size and the number of people, and economically speaking, you know that São Paulo is the biggest city in Brazil, you know. 38.8 million people are smartphone users in Brazil. That makes Brazil the 6th highest worldwide. And that means that a lot of Brazilians are using smartphones nowadays. And when I mean a lot of Brazilians, I'm not only talking about the rich people in Brazil. Okay? 105 million people are internet users in Brazil. That means that if the population is 205 million people, half of the population are internet users. So it means that we have 50% of people that don't use internet, and that means that we have like great opportunities to even grow the e-commerce in Brazil. The other interesting thing is that Brazil is the 6th economy in the world, but it's the 10th e-commerce in the world. So that's another important thing that makes Brazil a great opportunity to sell more online in the future. So what are Brazilians doing online, generally speaking? Just to give you an idea of what's going on down there in Brazil. A lot of people don't know, but 89 million are Facebook users in Brazil. Brazil is the 2nd country with more people using Facebook in the world. 64% of internet users in Brazil use Twitter. Brazil is the second is the 2nd country with more Google users in the whole world, and the 2nd with YouTube users in the whole world. A lot of people ask me, oh, what about China? The thing is that China, they have their own things. Okay? They have their own Google, their own YouTube, their own Amazon. So Brazil is the 2nd because we don't have our own Amazon. Actually, a lot of e-commerce is going on down there, but there are a lot of things also to happen in Brazil, and that's also another think that might be a great opportunity for you guys, especially when you think about selling to the Brazilian market from the United States, even without having a physical operation down there in Brazil. Okay? What are the key opportunities within e-commerce in Brazil? There we go. So, we could talk about B2B, B2B2C, but I think that B2C is the most common e-commerce everywhere, because it's the whole idea of selling to the consumer. And here are some numbers of the size of the Brazilian market. In 2014, the Brazilian e-commerce sold $17.8 billion. And the projections for 2019 is of $40.8 billion. And this comes from different sources, but the one that I like most is McKinsey, and they say that the e-commerce in Brazil, even the economy is not doing well, will keep going up every single year. Okay? Okay. Number of online buyers also are expected to grow. As I said, just 50% of the people of the population uses internet. So it means that in 2014, there were 33.5 million people buying online. Now the projections for 2019 is of 61.8 million people. Because we are going to sell more mobiles, more people are going to get access to the internet. The population is really young, so they really want to do new things in differently, in different ways. So and here are some numbers about some specific dates that are really interesting. Christmas in Brazil sells online $1.48 billion. Mother's Day, $378 million. And we do have Black Friday in Brazil. Okay?
Do you mind if I politely interrupt you for 10 seconds? Just so it's hot. I won't hot. Just go.
Don't
Sure.
mind us.
Okay.
Just put it all right in front of me.
Well, and I was just reading an article today that this year's Black Friday was the best and the biggest Black Friday that we had in Brazil. Because the whole market is getting better and more mature, we are selling more because people are really trusting on the operations online down there in Brazil. We really, what I'm telling you guys here is that Brazil is a great opportunity, but I'm not saying that it's an easy thing to do. Okay, so we are going to talk about some other things that might make it a little bit difficult doing business down there in Brazil. Okay? Brazil leads the Latin America e-commerce market, which is the second fastest growing market in the world. Brazil is bigger than Mexico, Chile, Peru, Argentina, because of many different reasons, not just because of the size of the country and not only because of the size of the economy. It's because the market is really mature down there. That's the reason a lot of big companies are doing business in Brazil, and a lot of big companies are, planning to sell to Brazil. Just to give you an idea, yesterday I was with Costco. They don't have an operation in Brazil. They don't sell to Brazil, but they want to do it. They want to start selling to Brazil, and they don't want to have any kind of operation on there. Amazon sells a lot to Brazil, and they don't have an operation in Brazil. Okay, so just think about it and try to understand what great opportunity Brazil might be, and not only for the e-commerce itself, but for all the companies that provide service for e-commerce. So if your company is specialized in digital marketing, it might be a great idea to start, trying to get business in Brazil, because Brazilians, they are always looking for new things, you know. So I'm working at this place called the Field Collective. It's a co-working in Soho, and there are 30 different companies there, and all of them, they work with digital economy. 27 of those companies are doing business in Brazil, just because all Brazilian e-commerces, they want to do different things. They want to have the best quality in the kind of service and the products that they are selling in Brazil. So that means that if you have like a good service, Brazil might be a great opportunity, even if you are not an e-commerce, but you work with it. Okay? Well, Internet Retailer, which is a specialized magazine, it ranked the top 500 online retailers in Latin America. Out of the 500, 299 were based in Brazil. So I've been here in the city for 3 weeks, and I'm having a lot of meetings. I was just telling the people that I went to Brooklyn like 15 times, just because a lot of e-commerces were there, you know. And most of the people that I talk with, they ask me, "Oh, what about Mexico?" Yeah, Mexico is really small when we talk about e-commerce compared with Brazil. Okay, so the most popular countries where Brazilians shop online, besides Brazil, of course, the United States and China. The United States is the country that most sell to Brazil, just because Brazil has a lack of sophisticated products that we can't find in Brazil. So that's why the Brazilians, they buy from American companies, they buy online. They know that Brazilian consumers will pay for the tax, but even paying for the tax, it's a great deal buying from American companies, basically because of two different reasons. First, I couldn't even find the products in Brazil, so I want the product, that's the thing. The second one is that even with the high taxes for the consumer in Brazil, it might be cheaper to buy the product online from the United States than buying the same product in Brazil. The third thing is that it's not that legal, but Brazilians, they buy online because they take the chance that the government won't even know that they bought it, because there are so many products being shipped to Brazil that it's quite hard for the Brazilian government to take control of the whole thing. So they just take a chance that, oh, this product might come here and I won't even have to pay the tax. So that happened. It's like a lottery, you know? Okay. Brazilians are also buying a lot from China because of the price. So Brazilians buy from the United States because they want to buy sophisticated products with a good price, and they buy from China because they just want to buy cheap things that you just can find in China. Just like here in the United States, because I know that a lot of Americans are buying from China online, right? And there are a lot of Chinese companies selling to Brazil. Alibaba, AliExpress, they are selling a lot to Brazil. Brazil, even with those Chinese companies, is the second country that most buys from their website. So there is a reason for that, you know? Great. I thought it would be a good idea to talk about someone who is doing business in Brazil. Someone who didn't have an operation in Brazil, but was selling to Brazil. And I decided that we would understand a little bit better about the Amazon operation in Brazil. Just here are some numbers. Amazon grew in Brazil 3.7 times faster than in China. 7 times faster than here in the United States. and 8.3 times faster than Europe. Because Brazilians want to buy sophisticated products that they couldn't buy in Brazil with a good price. The only thing that Amazon did to start selling to Brazil, they had a Portuguese webpage, and that's it. Because if you start selling to Brazil, you don't even need to worry about taxation. Because the consumer is the one who's going to pay for the tax. So the only thing you need to worry about is logistic. You got to find a way to get your product down there in Brazil. The other good news is that the Brazilian government understood that the Brazilian population needs to get access to some sophisticated products. So that means that when it comes to customs regulation, depending on the kind of the good and depending on the price, you can use the mail and it's going to get there perfectly without any problem. So if you are talking about fashion, that's the first Catholic, it's the kind of product that Brazilians most buy. And usually it's not that expensive, and usually it's not that hard to ship from here to Brazil. That's why I had a meeting with Brooks' brother.
Yep.
Okay, they want to do business in Brazil. Okay. Why Brazil is the hottest opportunity for online retailers right now? The country represents more than half of the market for the continent, with total sales expected to reach $37 billion in 2015. This makes Brazil amongst the largest e-commerce markets in the world, with and this specialized magazine, the Marketer, ranked as the number 10 in the whole world, as I said before. Brazil is not only the biggest market in Latin America for macroeconomy reasons, such as population and economy, but also because it has one of the most mature e-commerce markets in the region. And when I mean, not only me, McKinsey, they say mature e-commerce market. One great example is probably my law firm. It's even hard to find a law firm specialized in e-commerce, even here in the United States. And you are only going to find law firms, for example, specialized in e-commerce in markets that make sense to have a law firm specialized in search in this specific market. So the whole market is extremely mature. So that's why we have like different companies and different industry selling to the e-commerce to make them sell to the consumers. Okay, mobile penetration is high with an average of more than one phone per capita. So we have more iPhones than people in Brazil. From the Copacabana beach to the Amazon bases, over half, actually 53.7% of Brazilians are now accessing internet, and by 2017 it's estimated that almost all of these internet users will access the internet with a mobile device. So if you are working with app, Brazil might be a great idea. 43.7% of Brazil's population is aged between 25 and 54, with 85% residing in urban areas, whether it's the virgin modern apartments in Rio or even in the famous favelas, also most of them in Rio. Everybody gets access to the internet, everybody has a smartphone. Almost half of online shoppers are aged between 18 and 34, with the majority located in urban zones in the southeast, northeast, and south of Brazil. In the last couple of years, fashion and accessories overtook household appliances as the most popular items for Brazilians to place in their shopping carts. So it's changing. Just to let you know, the third is medicine. Because the old people are buying, online. They don't even want to go to the drugstore. Okay, as I said, I'm just telling you that Brazil might be a great opportunity, but I'm not saying that it's easy. So you got to understand a little bit about the market and the culture. When it comes to ways to pay, that changes a little bit. Only 20% of Brazilian buyers have access to international credit cards. And their national cards only process in Brazilian real, making them unsuitable for cross-border payment. And you were going to ask me, so how do you want me to sell to Brazil if they don't have international credit cards? Well, the thing is that it's pretty big in Brazil, and I'm pretty much sure that it's even here in the United States, a business model called marketplace, right? The thing is that, does everybody knows what a marketplace is? You just get on the website, and this website sells products from different sources, and they don't even own the products. They are just a middleman, okay? It's really big in Brazil, and now we are starting to have international marketplaces. So a lot of those companies are gonna probably call you guys and ask you if you want to sell to the Brazilian market through their website. And what they're going to do, they are going to do the marketing. They are going to get the money. They are going to send you the money. And of course, they're going to keep their commissions. But that might make it a little bit easier for you. One of our clients is a huge French company that is in Brazil. This group is called Groupe Casino, right? We have a French person here. And they are down there in Brazil. They bought what we could say is the Brazilian Walmart. It's Pão de Açúcar. They bought Pão de Açúcar, and they have a huge online operation in Brazil. We were just working on this project because they want to have an international marketplace. And when I said to them that I would come to the United States, they said, okay, so you could talk a little bit about our marketplace up there. So that's why Costco and maybe, what's the other company?
BJ's is the other club.
Okay, they might be interested in selling to Brazil through their marketplace. So that might be a good idea because you won't have to invest a lot of money, okay? Brazil uses boleto bancário, which is Portuguese for bank ticket. That's a huge way of that we use to pay our bills down there in Brazil. So if you have a marketplace working for you down there in Brazil, you don't have to worry about it. They will know how things are done down there, and they're going to get the money and they're going to send it to you without any problem, okay? But you got to know that it's a little bit different down there. Another thing that's probably different down there is that Brazilians, they love to pay in installments. As it's extremely expensive to get any kind of a loan, Brazilians, they usually want to pay in installments. And from 3 times to 12 times, right? So things work like this in Brazil. You gotta know that. Okay? It doesn't mean that they are not gonna pay you, okay? But it means that you won't see the money right away. So cash flow is a trick thing in Brazil, right? Okay. Brazil has, it's interesting, in many ways Brazil is a progressive nation when it comes to e-commerce. So nowadays some e-commerce are even selling and they accept Bitcoins for that. Just to let you know, our law firm was the first Brazilian law firm to accept Bitcoins. So if you want to hire our law firm and you want to pay Bitcoin, that's fine. It's not even legal in France, right? As far as I know. Great. Research from PwC shows that some tutor would be open to purchasing with the new breed of digital currency ahead of China, US, and UK. Anything that's new in Brazil is going to get big, just because it's new. I gotta say that. Okay, the US remains the primary destination for cross-border e-commerce by Brazilian buyers, but it has dropped from 79% in 2013 to 71.7% in 2014, just because China is getting bigger in Brazil. The good news for online retailers is that returns in Brazil are, compared with some other places, lower. Okay? Only 15.6% of consumers in Brazil returned goods. That means 10% below than the global average of 27.5%. Because if they buy something, that means that they really want to buy it. So they might return the product just because it wasn't exactly the product that they wanted or some other reason. So that's the reason it's so low in Brazil. It's a good thing. Well, the bottom line, just because we are out of time. As the most technological and economically rich nation south of the Panama Canal, Brazil represents retailers prepared to understand its cultural futures and differing payments methods a huge opportunity now and in the future. Just a year ahead of the Olympic Games, for sure Brazil is going to get to the 60th position as the biggest e-commerce in Brazil. So it's going to be a huge increasement in e-commerce in Brazil. How foreign companies are selling to Brazil? They just develop a page, a web page in Portuguese. Sometimes they don't even do that, depending on the kind of product that we are talking about. Like, I was just in a meeting with this guy from Brooklyn, and they sell watches, expensive watches. And his conclusion, I don't need a page in Portuguese because those people who buy these kind of products, they already know English. Second, I don't want to worry about the tax. I don't worry about the price because these people don't worry about the price. They just want to buy it. These people usually buy watches when they travel to the United States, but sometimes they don't have the time to travel to the United States, but I want the product. So they just buy it, that's it. They just want to be sure that the product is going to get there. That's the only thing. Brazilians pay for the tax involved. That's another thing. Your company won't have to worry about the tax. Okay? Some things that you need to worry about. Taxation, just to understand what's going to be the final price, because that's the price that the consumer is going to pay for the product. Customs, that's another thing. You got to understand how it works. Depending, as I said, depending on the product and the price, you don't need to worry about it because the mail will be able to get the job done. Consumer protection, you might need to understand a little bit how it works in Brazil. It's a little bit different than here in the United States. For example, it seems that you guys can return the goods in 30 days, right?
Give or take, yeah.
Down there in Brazil, it's only 7 days. Okay? International contract, because you might need to hire some companies down there. This is just the last one is just an information about myself. Here's our things that we do there in the law firm. So, not interesting. This is just from our Wall Street Journal or something like that. It's called Valor Econômico. It's our economic newspaper, and it's just a news that I just told you about accepting Bitcoins. So, again, to answer your questions.
Yeah, thanks, Marcio. It was great. Very.
Thank you.
So I do stuff to Brazil. I was very interested in your comments on the tax, because we have a module where we're collecting tax, and I'm astounded at how much taxes and duties things going to Brazil are. Do you see the climate? Because from what I hear you saying is the government is very inefficient in collecting those fees that they're supposed to be getting. Do you see that environment changing in the near future now that they're opening up to dealing more in the States?
Just let me make you one question before I answer to your questions. Do you guys have an operation in Brazil?
No, we don't. No,
you don't. Yeah. The thing is that the Brazilian population, the Brazilian economy was doing pretty well in the past 5 years. So that means that we made some money. So once we made some money, we wanted to get access to good products. So that's why a lot of Brazilians, they started coming here, and then they were buying almost everything. Just go down there to Florida, and you are going to know what I'm talking about. Once the Brazilian population got used to those more sophisticated products, it's quite hard to just say, oh, okay, so now you can get access to those products. So it means that the Brazilian government needed to be a little bit more flexible when it comes to buying products outside of Brazil. So nowadays, depending on the price, like if you sell products under $300, for sure your product won't have a lot of problems to get into the country. And the taxation for the consumer is going to be something around 50% of the price. But that might sound a lot, but you got to understand who is your competitor. Your competitor is a Brazilian company who is selling the same product in Brazil. And that sometimes the tax and the cost involved is even higher than that. And we are even comparing different economies. I don't know if you know, but for example, Rio, São Paulo, the cost of living in those cities are higher than New York. That means that a watch in São Paulo might be more expensive than a watch here in New York. So your price is extremely good for a Brazilian consumer. Even if you pay the tax, you might be a good option for the Brazilian consumer. And sometimes you can even find the product in Brazil. Yeah. But going straight to the point, yes, the Brazilian government is getting a little bit more flexible.
Yeah, and then one other question about distribution channels. I'm sure Sao Paulo and you know, countries along the cities along the coast, there's a lot of options. But you know, while the market's growing, you know, in the United States, we have FedEx, we have UPS, we have Post Office. What are the options? You're mentioning Post Office. Is that really the only option for distribution?
Maybe you can even you know, give some better information. But we have a DHL, FedEx. All these guys are down there in Brazil.
So they're doing. So the last mile, there's pretty much the same players.
Yeah. But when you talk about like big products or a lot of products being shipped, that's different because you know, I'm not talking about you shipping one product for one consumer in Brazil. That's easy. That's not that complicated. But if you want to have like a lot of things being shipped to Brazil, that might be a little bit more complicated. Do you want to share?
Well, yeah, it's just you're looking at air freight or ocean. Yeah, ocean, there's a lot of steps no matter where you go anywhere in the world, because they usually give you a price just for the ship, not for the ports on both sides, because there's a lot of fees on both ends. And then, like you said, with the products and everything, but those are for much larger volumes. Yeah, so but DHL will go up to pallets and pretty much, they won't ship a car, but pretty much anything else you can get through there
Yeah.
up to those
Yeah.
points.
Yeah, if you were doing like a B2B business, that would be harder. But B2C,
Okay.
that's not gonna
So,
be a
and
problem.
B2C level,
It is.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it shouldn't be any problems, B2C shouldn't be any problems at all,
Yeah,
other than customs.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to bring to light that there's a nice little marriage happening here. Joe does a lot of promotional accessories. Bill does import-export. Marcio does law in Brazil. If you guys want to branch off into a school. I was just sitting in the back, but I have a vision, you know, so. Follow it. See you later. Any more questions?
Well, can I ask, you know, when Joe mentioned about the taxes in Brazil, well, a lot of the orders are going to be leaving the country and coming from overseas. Wouldn't the small businesses there might start to complain over that?
Yeah, at this point, the government is really flexible,
Okay.
but probably in the future, we will have to deal with this whole situation because, you know, Brazilians are just crazy about buying things online
Got it.
from everywhere. So the government might, wants to not be so flexible because, of course, the local business,
Local
they need
manufacturing.
to, they need to compete with huge people. If Costco starts selling to Brazil, that might be something,
Disruptor.
yeah.
I heard culturally, like a lot of women buy stuff.
Uh-huh.
Like the men give the money to the women, and then they do a lot of online shopping.
Not really, I mean,
Is that different, is that different from
Everywhere.
United States?
I think they make their own money. I mean, just the first part out, the man they give them. Yeah, I don't know. I think
Okay.
there are a lot of women here who know this stuff. They make their own money, but yes, they buy a lot of things. Like, in my house, I have like things coming from everywhere. China, Argentina, United States, just because my wife, she loves to shop online.
Okay. Yeah.
Even being here, she bought a lot of things and she just said, okay, so you're gonna get a couple of boxes, just bring to me,
Couple of boxes.
Yeah. So, I think it's everywhere, but it's true, it's true. Women are, they buy more online in Brazil than the men. That's why clothes, fashion sells a lot in Brazil. I went twice to Angola to talk about the same thing, about e-commerce. And they are just starting. And I told them, oh, probably in the future, women are going to buy shoes. And they went like, whoa, what do you mean buying shoes online? That's, because at the beginning of e-commerce, we asked the same thing. How are you going to buy shoes, online? In Brazil, they do that a lot. One of our clients, they have a store here on 5th Avenue. It's Arezzo Co. It's a Brazilian company. I think, yeah. Arezzo, we are just starting their online operation down there in Brazil. They have 4 different brands. Anacap, Arezzo, Schutz, and Alexandre Birman. Alexandre Birman is the owner of the whole company, and he has his own brand, and they're going to sell shoes online, and that's going to be huge in Brazil. So you're right, they buy a lot.
It's like Zappos, right?
Yeah, but in Brazil we also have what we call, there is one company really big in Brazil called Netshoes. They are going to be the first Brazilian company to go public in the United States before going public in Brazil.
Wow.
They sell a lot.
Well, shoes are pretty good in Brazil.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, fashion is huge in Brazil.
We actually import a lot from Brazil. I think that they're good with leather shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Others down there are very good.
Oh yeah,
That's what-
Arezzo,
we are
they do
saying-
that. She's in the fashion industry, and when I said Arezzo, she was like, "Oh yeah, I know
Yeah.
what you're talking about."
Yeah, I know the
Yeah,
best shoes from that.
leather shoes down there in Brazil, we do pretty well.
Sorry.
For merchant processors, for Brazilian cards, for companies that are here who want to build accept credit cards from
Mhm.
Brazil. How does one do it?
Yeah, you have the international credit cards, but just 20% of the
Yes.
population have international credit cards. So it depends on the kind of goods that you are selling, kind of products that you are selling.
Let's say shoes, bags, jackets, anything.
Yeah, so it might be a better idea to sell your products through a marketplace.
Okay.
They will collect the money and it's not gonna be a problem for you.
Versus doing like a Bitcoin or some kind of, some kind of electronic
That's
currency.
interesting. Bitcoin might be big in Brazil in the future, but I don't know why we don't use PayPal a lot. I just don't know why. So you gotta understand a little bit the market. So that's why marketplace, starting selling to Brazil through a marketplace might be a
What's an
better
example
idea.
of one marketplace is pretty?
Like there is this huge one, this French company that is one of our clients that I was talking about. In France, their online operation is called Cdiscount, and the operation in Brazil was called Nova. Now the Brazilian company is called Cnova. So just send me an email and I can hook you up with those guys.
Two questions. So really, to find a marketplace, kind of like a seamless web that does it for restaurants. In other words, you go online, you order it.
Yeah.
That's
It's the middleman.
So
For example, one of our clients, they used to be like just a website talking about motorcycle. Executives that wanted to ride their Harley Davidson during the weekend. That's it. But there were more than 35,000 people accessing every single day the website. So one day he said, oh, okay, I have the people, I have the client, I have the audience. So now I don't want to buy products and sell products. I'm just going to be the middleman.
Right.
So I'm going to get the people who might want to sell products to these audience,
Mhm.
and I'm just going to,
Right. Just let them plug into your network. Yeah.
that's it.
Deal with it, so they'll deal with the transaction,
And you're just going to
handle the currency, take a percentage, and then we deal with the
You
shipment.
got it. Yeah, you just need to ship the good to the consumer.
And now,
don't
will they
deal-
help you with the translation and like putting it up as
Actually, it's
Portuguese
going to be in
pages?
Portuguese because the whole web page, the whole marketplace is in Portuguese.
So it's on their site, and they're just sending you the information. Here's what we need you to fulfill.
You're gonna get the access to the platform. It's gonna be in English.
Okay.
You are gonna, just put your products there, the price and everything. That's what we call the back end,
Yeah.
But the front end is gonna be in Portuguese.
Yeah, but no, it can't be Portuguese. Somebody has to translate.
Yeah, they are gonna do that. The marketplace.
So you push your product on this marketplace, like you push your product from, let's imagine, to this marketplace in English. because
Yes.
you're American.
Uh-huh.
And then somebody in Brazil from this marketplace will translate.
Yeah, that's it.
Even if you push 1,000 products once.
Well, they are really good. They are from France.
Because that was my question.
Yeah, I don't know how
That's a
technically.
good point, yes, that is a good point.
When you say your client from Brooklyn, they sell
Uh-huh.
expensive watch, people going back and forth.
Okay.
They also speak English, so they don't need to have a website in Portuguese.
Well, he thinks that he doesn't need to translate
Yeah.
to Portuguese.
But
Let's
let's talk about the mass market, about all these people in Brazil buying online.
Mhm.
Do they shop? Will they shop on a website selling in English, even if you can pay in real?
Mhm.
Will they be able to buy a product written in English, or you have to translate whatever?
No, you don't. It depends. First of all, it depends
On the
who
mass
is.
market.
Yeah.
For everybody.
Oh, okay. Amazon was selling to Brazil, and they did that for 2 years without having a Portuguese web page. So I'm not saying that you don't need to, but those guys, they sold to Brazil during 2 years without having a web page. It's not that complicated. You see the product,
Yeah,
you
so-
see the price.
Well, I think,
That's about it.
well,
I think the most important thing is to do the marketing.
Yeah.
That's a little bit more complicated because you got to understand how the Brazilian consumers think, what they want to buy. So that might be a little bit more complicated than having a Portuguese webpage or anything like that. But that's why I'm saying that the marketplace might be a better idea, because those guys, they even do that.
Yeah, I think my point of view is to get into new markets. As an e-commerce, the best way to try a market, can be Brazil, China, whatever, it's to go through marketplace. Because they already have people from these countries buying on this marketplace, so you can test your products.
They already have the traffic.
They already
Yeah,
have
yeah.
people.
But the thing is that from my experience, sometimes this operation might get bigger, and someday you might think, I don't need those guys, and I don't want to pay the commission. So, call Marcio, okay, now I want to change the business model, what do I need to get a company in Brazil? That's cheaper. Then we're going to need this guy here, because you're going to be shipping a lot of products to Brazil. That's cheaper.
Can we take that last question and then we
No,
can,
two more questions and then we'll socialize.
one public and then we can
take
go
off,
directly to Marcio.
I have a
and
very
everybody
important
can go
question, so,
break.
yeah.
You didn't speak about Mercado Libre.
Oh yeah, I didn't, but I can. Mercado Libre,
Yeah.
first because it's an Argentinian company. I'm from Brazil. No, we don't like. Just kidding, just kidding. Yeah, the thing is that Mercado Libre is a sort of eBay, right? They started in Argentina, they are in Brazil, they are big in Brazil. The reason I didn't talk about Mercado Libre is because they do more C2C business. And here I wanted to bring more of the B2C kind of business. That's the only reason I didn't talk about Mercado Libre. Okay?
Thank you.
Was there anybody else, or should I go?
You can do the last question.
We can talk later, okay?
I was gonna say, he says 205 million people in
Yeah.
Brazil.
Mhm.
Are there so many people there because once you go to Brazil, you don't leave? That's what I was gonna say. Go ahead.
Well, you are the second person who asked me that.
Oh, really?
Brazil is pretty much like the United States, a lot of immigrants. You know, I was just talking with this guy from FBI, and he said that the Brazilian passport might be the one that is really tricky, because you never know who is the Brazilian. You might find some Brazilians that look like Japanese. It's true. We have a huge colony, a lot of.
Big.
For example, my family, my grandparents, they came from Russia, Italy, Spain, and France.
Yeah,
So that's one of the reasons,
melting pot.
And the
One out of
women
four is
there,
not
they
bad.
are just marvelous, gorgeous. Okay, that's another reason.
That's a no. Thank you.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you.